Hey, folks. Yeah. As with most things, anytime I talk about something or I'm just thinking in general, I find that for me, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of people, that I am constantly at odds with myself. Every conversation I've ever had, every argument, every debate, even personal ideas that just kind of come up to me on, say, a Friday, by Saturday, I'm already thinking, maybe my views have changed. It happened a lot when I was in college. I would write reports for my classes, as you do, and realize near the end of my papers that I no longer agreed with the point that I had started with. And each time I would end up just finishing the paper as is, ending with the conclusion that I changed my mind, I was wrong, or that maybe I wasn't necessarily wrong, but my overall views have adapted. And I would turn them in, and each time it actually went fairly well. I don't know why. For the longest time, I was under the impression that you need to stick to your guns. You need to be a single person, to have a single idea, to have an ideology. You need to settle down and believe in something. And that, I think that gets pushed into you in school because they want you to take a stance and they want you to defend that stance. And I think for a lot of people, once you're defending a stance, it becomes a part of you. I notice it even in my personal work. I guess I should say professional work, actually. But when there are bugs found in the scripts that I've written, I take it very personal, as if it's an attack on me, even though it's just an objective truth that these things aren't currently working. They should probably work. And I think that extrapolates out to everything we do in our lives. Anytime we think we believe in something, any sort of criticism or critique of that thing sort of becomes a criticism or critique of ourselves, of who we are. And it definitely happens to me. It definitely happens when I'm having a discussion with somebody online and they just outright dismiss what I believe, or not even necessarily what I believe, because that's very fleeting for me, but what I'm discussing or saying. And I think I don't know how many people are in this boat where you can have a debate with somebody and by the moment you're in the shower, you've already changed your mind. And it's not even necessarily that you agree with what they said, but you don't even necessarily agree with what you had said. I wonder how common that is, because it feels like it might not be. It feels like a lot of people just double down on what they believe regardless of new information. But for the most part, there's pretty much nothing for me that I'm not willing to give up in terms of beliefs. Like if new information were to actually be presented for something that I thought was one way, then it doesn't seem very likely that I would stick with it, just because I can barely, even without new information, just letting me stew on things causes me to change my mind. And good heavens, just as a quick tangent, got my new crown in my mouth. And if you've never salivated at like Mach 10, it is very irritating. It's very distracting. But we'll just leave it at that. Just if you see me swallowing like I'm in court for murder or something, that's why. I mean, could be worse. I've seen people parched doing big speeches in front of the U.S., so it's whatever. This is just me and one or two other people on YouTube. But yeah, I think it's something that I sort of want to work on a sign-off for future videos. It's just the notion of, that's what I think, at least until tomorrow. Something like that. I'd initially thought that's what I think, at least until I shower, but I kind of feel like at least until tomorrow is a little bit, I don't know, a little bit different in a way that I like. And I think that's where I'll be taking things, because I don't necessarily, there are things that I talk about that I reiterate year over year, and it's not so much that I'm hardening my stance on them as they're more philosophical things that I sort of hope are true, but ultimately if we find evidence to the contrary, then such is life and I move on. Not much else to add, really. Just wanted to mention that after my previous video where I was talking about gun control of all things, and just the ideas of courage and cowardice and how it's sort of part of who we are. It is something I want to approach from a few different angles over time in different videos. Just the nature of, at least my belief in how nature and nurture works. And just to sort of talk about who we become and how static that may be in some areas. I do believe, as I mentioned in that video, that you can teach an old dog new tricks. It's just not easy, but just because something's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I actually do wonder if when I get older, my sort of wishy-washy feeling about everything will sort of adjust. If I'll start to finally look at things and think, that is the correct answer, or that is totally wrong, that sort of thing. And I imagine there are some places where I'm already like that, and I just don't recognize it because it's part of who I am. But we'll see. You know, I'll as I make these videos, it'll probably end up being a lot like those reports in college where I will take a stance on something, talk about it, and then realize by the very next video that maybe I don't think that. Maybe I think other things. I was actually kind of concerned after I made that previous video that somebody might see it and misinterpret something that I had said, and then I realized, wait, only like 3 people watch these. I'm fine. I could say basically whatever I want. Zaboomafoo. Zebras, giraffes. Tanker trucks. I don't know. It's actually kind of cool. I like it. I like that I can sort of babble, upload these things to some random website. I say random, but it's YouTube. And yeah, they're just there, haunting me forever, at least till I unlist them, which will happen with a few of those Dark Souls videos shortly. But that's, again, we're tangenting. So, tangenting. Yeah, sure, whatever. We'll go with that. I'm going to leave it on that. It should be fun. We'll see how things go. And so, like I said, yeah, that's how I feel. At least till tomorrow.